Hey there, welcome to ATL and 29, a podcast that looks at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chenard. I am here with Glenn Willis and a dog with a squeaky toy on a Sunday night. Um, and the Hawks have won 9 games in a row, and they've I don't think barely is right. They have not moved up in the standings from where they were at the beginning of winning 9 straight games. But they'll have a big game tomorrow against the Magic, and what have you liked most about what you've seen from this team during the streak?
Well, I mean, it's a mashup of a couple things. One is we've talked about it before, the schedule's been soft, but you can only play the schedule that's in front of you, so no control there. But they're playing more consistently. I think they're getting faster defensive parts starts a little bit these last few games. They're obviously a very different defense when Dyson plays and when he doesn't play. There are gaps when Dyson doesn't play, more workload on Nikhil, a little bit more on Gabe Vincent, maybe if he's playing more minutes when Dyson doesn't play and those sorts of things. But in the Milwaukee game, no Giannis. Felt like the game was a little closer maybe than you'd normally expect, but media games are weird sometimes. Like the Bucks have something. The Bucks have something in Rollins. Like Rollins is a good player. He's a good young player, and so he made a lot of shots and such. But they stay focused. They stay on task and that is that's the thing that drives consistency, just being focused and disciplined and staying on task. So they do that more and more and more, but they're heading into the next game where they're going to play a team that's way more physical than any team they've played in a long time, and that's going to be a big difference for them that they're going to have to adjust to. So it's going to be interesting to see how that game goes tomorrow.
Yeah, I like that you said that the team is getting off to fast starts. I think that's not random because the lineup of sort of the core four with CJ McCollum, that lineup is just killing.
Hmm.
And the winning streak coincides with when they started putting CJ McCollum in the starting lineup. And it's been a big difference. Like for the first 3, 4 minutes of a game, instead of being down 10-4, they're up 10-4. And there's just been so much more of that. And again, strength of schedule clearly factors in and whatnot. But that lineup has been good against good teams. It's been good against bad teams. That lineup has just been very, very good. It's good in the first 4 minutes of a game, and it's great in the last 4 minutes of a game. Like that lineup is just a good lineup. So, putting CJ in the starting lineup, it's not a surprise that the starts have been better.
Yeah, and we've talked about it. CJ takes some relief off of Jalen, and Orlando's going to throw different things at Jalen than other teams have been able to. Look, they have a number of good defenders on their team that's going to throw different things at him, and so CJ as a relief valve is going to be pivotal there. It's going to be a completely different defensive context for the Hawks are facing in this game, and so it's going to be interesting to see. Does it take them half of the first quarter to get acclimated to more physicality, putting two on the ball, being more aggressive, more ball pressure, all the stuff that Jamal Mosley's teams kind of leads into, because that's not what they've seen a lot of outside. If you go back to Miami will put a lot of backcourt pressure on the ball, and you know, it was a ways back kind of see that kind of game. But it's going to be different, and hopefully they're prepared for that.
Yeah, and it's kind of an interesting Magic team. Like they've won a bunch of games in a row. They don't have Franz Wagner. Like, what are the things that have gone well for that team lately? Like, because that team hasn't been the most consistent team all season long either, but they've been pretty good of late.
Yeah, I mean, so their offense can be up and down. I mean, they added Bane as last year. They had the shooting was the challenge last year, right? They just didn't have the 3-point shooting. And Paulo is not the most efficient like shot creator in the league, but I mean he'll have some good games where if it's a smaller defense, he'll just bully his way to the rim, the whole game. Other times if teams know how to kind of wall him off, he struggles with, 17-foot kind of mid-range shots that don't always fall. So really there's a lot of defensive context there too. But they're a little bit like a OKC Junior in that they will just foul the crap out of you the whole game and see if the refs will call all the fouls. And as we talked about last time, and this goes back to Quinn's comments before the last game, right? Around the league is getting more physical and officials aren't wanting to call the fouls. And so if the Hawks are getting hacked at the rim or whatever, and they're not getting calls, and I mean, you can't get distracted by that, and you can't take tactical fouls, and you got to stay on focus. And let Quinn do his job of kind of trying to persuade the officials to kind of see that they're missing things because you have to stay on task because Orlando's not going to stop being fit. There's not every single defensive possession. They're going to push you around. They're going to push switch. They're going to do all the stuff that they do to be physical, and you gotta deal with it and solve for it and figure it out.
How would you want to line up your starting lineup against Orlando in terms of maybe sort of the first problem being who do you want guarding uh, Paolo Banchero?
Yeah, that's an interesting one for me because I think where it starts with is because they start Suggs, Wagner, Paulo, Carter, and then the fifth starter. I'm always forgetting like who that fifth guy is. I guess it's Bain. I guess that would be Bain is the obvious one, right? So it starts with where do you put CJ? That's where it's like where do you want him on Suggs? Is that the place to go? Because they do play through Wagner and Bencaro a ton, and there's a lot of your turn, my turn that's there that they're still kind of working
Well,
through.
they're
That's
not going to have Wagner, like they're not going to have Franz Wagner.
right.
So I think they've been starting De Silva.
Yeah, so still, when is he back? When is he expected back? I can't remember
I'm
how
not
long.
sure, but I'm pretty sure he's isn't he was on the injury list, and I'm pretty sure it was with an out designation.
Okay, I haven't seen it today.
Okay.
Yeah, I got some business travel coming up, so this weekend was
Oh wait,
focused on.
I got yeah, no, he's out. Sorry, just wanted to
Okay,
double check.
okay,
Yep,
so
out.
that's helpful because he's a tough matchup. He's a big guard. We'll call him a guard if we can in that sense, but that helps some. But maybe De Silva's where you put CJ, and maybe Suggs is where you put Nikhil, and then the question is like, do you want Jalen on Bancaro? That's a lot of defensive workload, and so I don't think that's the way I want to go. But who do you put on Bain? Is it Dyson on Bain? So you kind of do you cross switch Onyeka onto Bancaro and then Jalen onto Carter because Carter plays outside the 3-point line really more than he does anything else. So it'd be interesting to see the way Quinn goes in that sense. It might be one of those things where he tries that for the first half, and then we get the second half. If he needs to slide Dyson over to Bancaro, not let Bancaro dribble the ball like he did against Giannis a couple games ago against the Bucks, it might be a setup that's a little bit like that.
Hello, Tyler.
Going
I have a
on.
question. Not sure who wants to answer it, but like, because you just mentioned, maybe at some point Dyson Daniels guards Banchero tomorrow, and he's been dealing with a sore toe, which is kind of that's usually something that kind of lingers. It doesn't really like go away real fast, and I'm just wondering, in the game against Milwaukee, it felt like they used him less as a point guard than they have in some other games, and I was just wondering if is that like a workload thing? Is there any sensible reason for like why you would use Dyson less as a point guard other than maybe just we're trying to spare him some of the gory details and hopefully he can, move a little less.
Um, I'm not sure. I think they were just trying to get CJ in rhythm, honestly. I don't I don't like on Monday's game, I'm pretty sure Dyson is going to be the one running the show for a bit, because that's when the Hawks are at their best. So I'm not I don't think it's a workload thing or anything like that. I just think they wanted to get CJ into some type of rhythm because they're gonna need CJ's pull up shooting against the Magic on Monday. I think that's probably going to be where they get their offense most consistently because like the Magic are one of the few teams in the NBA that don't really play weak defenders either. And so like it's going to require a lot of um for the Hawks to score fairly consistently, they're going to have to create advantages in one-on-one situations. And like CJ McCollum is probably the best on the team at doing that off the dribble for his own shot. So like I think the game against Milwaukee was more just trying to get CJ in rhythm than like the Hawks are going to change anything. I but maybe that's not the case. We'll see. But I'm pretty sure that that's what the Hawks are trying to do.
Do you have any other lingering thoughts from that Milwaukee game that you want to get out there?
They handled business. Not really much to say about it. It's pretty typical what the Hawks have done during this winning streak, which is play consistently good defense, and then eventually their offense clicks in and they're able to extend the gap and win by a comfortable margin. So that's been the formula. I'll be interested to see how they defend Magic in particular because they're a big team. They play physical, but the way the Hawks have played recently, during this win streak, they've been consistently the more physical team. So it's going to be a good. I think it's going to be a good matchup to see how they fare against possibly if they're not if the Magic aren't like the strongest team in the NBA, they're one of the strongest. So it'll be a good matchup to see how they come out. But they these two teams have played each other pretty evenly the last couple of years. So we'll see how it goes this game.
Yeah, I was asking Glenn that question because I think it's kind of an interesting one. Like, no Franz Wagner, so the starting lineup probably has Tristan da Silva in it. But if you're trying to line up sort of starter for starter and figure out how you want the Hawks to guard the Magic, like where do you start with in terms of who do you want guarding Boncaro, and then how do you work it back from there?
I'm not sure. I'm not actually concerned too much about Bankero, other than just don't foul him. I don't think it particularly matters what they do there. It's just more important that they're they continue to play good team defense, like the individual one-on-one defense. Like, these guys are professionals. They know how to handle themselves. But like, it's more important uh, that they're on a string defensively and they're not giving up any gaps, anything easy. Like that's what I'm looking for. I don't particularly care how this team lines up. Just don't give up anything easy to a good Magic team because they're going like the Magic aren't an elite offense themselves. So like if you take away the easy stuff, you should be able to find a way to generate maybe some turnovers here and there with how Dyson and Nikhil have been defending out on the perimeter. And like that can be a difference combined with cleaning up the glass, which they've been great at, like at defensive rebounding. So let's see if that holds up again against like Wendell Carter's going to push. Wendell Carter's going to go after every offensive rebound he can, and that's kind of their philosophy as a team. So it'll be interesting. Like to me, I think what's going to be more intriguing is how Quinn orients his bench, especially if Kaminga's playing. Is he willing to go with Mo at the five? He did such a great job against Bankero throughout the years now. Like, do you go with that over and then have Kaminga, who like in his short stint in the 4 games, even the game he was poor, like he's been a great defensive rebounder. He's been very good at like boxing guys out and then skying for rebounds. That might be like a Mo Gay, Kaminga, Richeche bench unit might be something Quinn might want to go to. Because like this game could ultimately come down to who has the best legs to close, and like every minute Jalen Johnson doesn't have to play, particularly in the first half and a little bit in the second half, will help him immensely in the fourth quarter where he has his legs and he'll have the burst he needs to finish at the rim because that's what they're going to need from them. They're going to need Jalen to break the paint and then finish at the rim through contact because I mean that's how the Magic play. So like if if the bench unit can be productive and win minutes when Jalen Johnson isn't in the game, that could be the difference.
Yeah, when you're talking about defensive rebounds, it reminded me of a quote from Quinn yesterday where he said that, Jalen should be taking Onyeka out to dinner just because Onyeka does such a good job of, typically keeping the best rebounder off the glass by boxing out so that Jalen can kind of go get it. And thinking about Quinn made me think of how irritated I was with Quinn in the pregame when Brad asked a very standard question about injuries related to Jonathan Kuminga because his injury status changed from, left knee bone bruise to, knee injury management or something like that. And Quinn just refuses to answer injury questions, which on the first of all, like, okay. That's what it is. I mean, if that's what he wants to do, I guess so. But he also kind of chastised Brad, which is just patently ridiculous because that's a 100% normal question for a head coach to be asked when something like that happens.
Oh gosh darn, I don't have any information.
Yeah, just say, "Oh, well, I really don't have any information on that, so I have no comment at this time," and smile. Like you don't have to chastise the fact that the question was asked because it's supposed to be asked, but that's
Part of the job.
entirely. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to. I guess I've gotten used to. I don't know how many times has Kaminga been questionable and how many times has he played? It feels like it's like 5 times and he's played maybe one. So it's funny going into this in my mind. I'm like, I'm not expecting him, but maybe I should be. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the thing is that they've had the luxury of sitting him when they've been playing bad teams because they don't on paper you don't need him to win those games, right? You know, I still think you want to get him out there for a game to kind of just let him stay in some rhythm or what, even if he's going to play one, miss two or whatever that looks like, I think that's fine. But the last, say, 12, 13 games of the year, like 8 of those games are very hard. And so I think sitting Dyson if he needs to sit because of whatever he's got going on. And I think when you're playing a bad team, that's when you have to optimize and let your depth step up and fill in and make the impact and go win that game. So what their concern for me is the last I have to pull the schedule back up 12, 15 games or whatever. You get Rockets, Celtics, Heat, Magic. Like, there's a bunch of tough teams in there. And so when you're playing bad teams, getting somebody off their feet helps you have a team that's a little bit more, ready physically when you hit that point in the season, I think. It's interesting. I was just looking like the Magic have won their last. I'm just looking. The ESPN shows their last five. The Magic have won their last five. I don't know if I look past that, but they smoked the Timberwolves. They smoked the Bucks. They beat the Cavs by 6. They beat the Wizards by 5 in overtime, which is a little bit of a weird result, but they let the Wizards put up 131 on them, which is a strange outcome for Magic, who are very physical defensively. And they beat the Heat by 4 yesterday.
Yeah, the
So,
Magic have won
look,
7 in a row in total.
okay. So, yeah, so these are two teams streaking, and so it's going to be interesting to see, who can kind of figure this out. The Hawks are actually winning games at home now, which is good to see. That was not a thing that was happening in the first half of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one goes.
If Kaminga is healthy, do we see the end of these Kispert, McCollum, Jock Landale lineups?
It's hard. I mean, for me, it's hard to know, but like there are games where Kispert's very helpful
Oh,
offensively.
sure. I mean, Kispert's going to play. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, we see these lineups where they play 3 defenders who aren't good at the same time, and
Well, this is a terrible matchup for that lineup
sure,
because Orlando is big and they're
right,
big across the board, right? And by the way, Tristan Silva, that dude's good. That dude is really that dude is really good for a young player.
yeah.
So, well, does Gabe Vincent play in this one? I mean, I think he's fine on Suggs to match up some of his minutes with Suggs. I think that's fine, right? But there might be some other minutes where their Bane is running the point and he slides to the one if he so to speak. Anthony Black's not going to play. He plays some point guard when he's healthy, but he's out for tomorrow. So when they go bigger, it's maybe a little harder to play Gabe. But for me, like Kispert plus Jacques plus whoever else you have there is that CJ getting mixed into that group. Their Hawks will lose those minutes tomorrow. Tomorrow, if they play that group any extended time, the Hawks will lose those minutes. Unless they're just making a lot of shots. That's the only little outlier thing that might happen. But I think Quinn has to stay away from that lineup tomorrow, unless Orlando just for some moments has a little bit of a smaller group on the floor. Then maybe that'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I want to stay away from that lineup at all times, but I will say, like, if they do go to it and Mo Wagner is out there, like, maybe you can score a lot of points because he is not like he hasn't looked great on defense. It seems, if you get him in space, it seems like he's had a lot of trouble dealing with that sort of thing lately. So,
Yeah, it's weird to me that he plays over Goga all the time. That's weird to me.
yeah, it didn't make sense to me. I was like, wait, yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, they're winning. I guess they
Yep.
see something, but to me, it just looks like a weak point in the defense. Sorry to keep putting these into conditionals, and Tyler said he wasn't really worried about this issue anyways, but If Kaminga plays, do you feel comfortable having him guard Paulo Banchero?
No.
No. Okay. Why? That's
I think it takes real skill to press into Paulo to take his dribble away from him, and I think that's just JK getting a stance or whatever. He's been better, like getting to the rim in time as low man and sorts of things. But I want someone who can get up under him, and I don't even care if that's Nikhil for a few possessions or whatever. Just take that dribble away. Dyson's the best choice there. I wouldn't ask Dyson to do it the whole game. It's just too much. But yeah, you want someone who can kind of get into his body and know how to do it without fouling. I don't trust JK to do that without fouling. Onyeka is a third option for like I said, they might cross switch Jalen onto Carter and Onyeka over onto Mikhail to start the game. They've done that before.
yeah, I mean
Absolutely done.
that's sort of what I'm expecting to be
Yeah,
honest. That's
yeah,
what I'm expecting. Like if you gave me like what does it look like to start the game, that's what I'm expecting. I'm not sure that it's going to look like that at the end of the game, but I think that's what it's going to start out as.
me too.
Do you think Kamingo should be used to guard Banchero, or do you just again not care, Tyler?
It's not. I mean, it's just like caring about who guards one on one is irrelevant because
Okay.
oftentimes Magic are going to try to get a smaller player on Bankero, so it's going to be important as a team that they just close the gaps. That's what's more important to me.
Makes
It
sense.
like everybody's going to have to at some point guard Bankero. It's going to be important that they don't give up cheap fouls, force him to be in a jump shooter, and get it like Glenn said. You gotta bother his dribble. You gotta take away his momentum. You gotta that's for everybody to do. But like if they want to stop Bankero, stop their point guards from getting the ball up the floor. Stop them from getting into their sets. Stop them. Force them into isolation. Like that's what matters. If Kaminga's forced, if Bankero's forced to isolate against Kaminga, I'm fine with that. It's the multiple actions, that will be an issue for Kaminga in particular if he's guarding Bankero. But that goes to are are my guards being as disruptive as they can to you know to take away the Orlando Magic's what they're trying to do on offense. Like, are they getting into the whoever has the ball, are they disrupting their dribble, forcing them back, keeping them out of the paint? That's what's going to be the difference. Like worrying about an individual defender, um, I don't know because these things change. Like I mean, I feel like watching Giannis when the how many times the Hawks have played the Bucks, like it just depends on the game. One game, Onyeka's perfectly fine handling Giannis, no issue. Capella, in years past, perfectly fine handling Giannis. In the other games where that's not an option, you got to get a guard out on him and try something different. So, like, like who or what the Hawks do is going to depend on the game. But like to me, it's just more important that as a team, and because that's what they've been doing in this winning streak, and I would like to see that continue. But like Bankero, like I'm if I'm being honest, like Bankero will hurt you if you're giving up if you're letting him get to the front of the rim and then having to help off with shooters, and now Desmond Bane's open for three. That's where he's dangerous, right? So like the key is you gotta as a team, you gotta lock in to take away those gaps to force Bankero to isolate with less than like 8 seconds on the shot clock. If you do that fairly consistently, I think the Hawks are going to win more often than not on defense.
Yeah, he likes to operate like elbow extended and tries to get middle. As long as your top side helper from the weak side gets the nail early and not let him come middle, he has a much harder time as a passer. He has a much harder time getting to an efficient shot. You have to zone the weak side, and Bane's on that side. It's hard if you got two shooters on the weak side and one defender there. You got to prioritize Bane and let the lesser shooter get the shot. But you got to get to the nail early and not let him get middle. That's the whole key to keeping him away from the middle.
Very good, very good. Okay, if you look back over the totality of this win streak and you think about what the Hawks have done well, and you say, okay, if I'm going to be really greedy, I would like the Hawks to also do this. Like, what would you want to see them doing?
Like the next several games.
Just as a general. trend, maybe something that you've seen that you don't like that you want reversed. I don't know. Like it could be really anything.
Well, I mean, to me, it's contextual, right? So Orlando will wall the paint off the whole freaking game. They will absolutely wall the. So Dyson getting to the paint going to be way harder, right? So movement, swinging the ball side to side, as Nick would say, right? All that stuff to kind of get them and create those seams. They're very, very good walling off the paint. So they're going to make you make 3-point shots to beat them. And so Quinn might have to lean into more shooting. Like, do we see Buddy play in this game? I don't think so. Buddy looks very
But he's
happy
not.
in his role and in the bench, just
It's
cheering. He's got
yeah, I
his
don't
Come
think
on,
it's going
man.
to be Buddy Hield.
I know
But he's not.
that was an outlier.
It's
Sure.
gonna be.
No,
It's gonna. It's gonna be the
if you're
road.
actually at the games, like Buddy will be like shooting layups during timeouts, like he's not even in the huddle
he
half the
look he
time.
looks
Like
he looks pretty happy
I
just to
mean,
be there
he's like beloved by his teammates. Like that's
Yeah,
instantly clear. It's not a dismissive
right.
thing that he's doing, but he's just happy doing his own thing, and I don't think he has any expectations of playing just
Yeah.
from sort of his demeanor in a game.
Yeah, so that's number one. Like they're gonna wall the paint off, and then do they put Carter on Dyson? Like, or are we watching? Do they start with Carter on Dyson or whatever that looks like? So those are the things to kind of work through. But is the next game Dallas again? I'm trying to remember the next one.
It's Dallas, Houston in some order.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So, but getting back to Dallas, I mean, Dallas just doesn't have a lot. They don't do a great job walling off the paint. You know, they're kind of a mess defensively, et cetera, and stuff. You get to Houston, so yeah, Orlando very physical defensively. Dallas should win that game. Back to Houston. Houston is super physical defensively too, and so you got that kind of swing from one end of the spectrum to the other, game to game to game. So I mean, for me, it's all about are they prepared to deal with all that physicality because they just haven't seen that across this 9 game stretch against maybe. Philly was a little like the refs let Philly be pretty physical, but nothing, no one else really jumps out to me. So for me, it's like that is the big X factor across these next 3 games, game one and game three, two very, very physical teams. Are you ready to deal with that? Do you have a plan for it? Are you going mentally saying this is going to happen? They're going to be very physical with us, and we have to solve for that. That is the big test across these games, whether they go 2-1, 1-2, or whatever the outcomes are, right? It's that is the thing that they have to work through these next 3 games. Now on defense, they're gonna get up into you, create turnovers, try to use defense to create offense. They've been hitting the offensive glass more productively. Got to be harder against Orlando because Orlando's big. They're a good rebounding team. Uh, Houston will play 2 centers at times and rebound the ball well also, so that's tough. But the big thing is just like no one's really just gotten into them physically in 3 weeks. So that's the big test across these 3 games for me is just being ready for that to know what's happening. The refs might not call fouls. If they don't, we just still got to keep working and playing through it and all that stuff. That's like half of the battle for game one and game three of these next 3 to me.
Tyler, if you look at this Hawks team over the course of the winning streak and you want to find some area on the margins where, you could improve the team, like what would you hope for this team to do?
Um, just I don't know because they haven't been challenged too often, so it's hard to really say. Other than maintaining focus throughout the full 48 minutes. But I mean, that's hard for any team, right? Like, no team is going to have perfect focus for a full 48. But gonna complain about something. I don't know. They're playing. I mean, they're objectively playing some of the best basketball any Hawks team has played in the last 5 years. So it's hard for me to find like one thing to nitpick other than maybe turnovers, but I feel like they've gotten a better handle on the turnover issue, even in the later half of this winning streak. So that's not really been a concern too much. The finishing at the rim has gotten a lot better. Um, I just, if they, it's focus and consistency is probably the biggest things, but like they've been doing that. And if they can do that against the Magic, I think they'll be fine. But it's hard to find anything too nitpicky other than maybe Quinn goes to the McCollum, Kispert, Landale lineup a bit too much, but like I feel like he's doing that just to buy minutes for for his starters. So it'll be interesting against a Magic against tomorrow, a game that I feel like they're going to treat like a playoff game. I would be interested to see how he implements his rotations because I could totally see him pushing his starters 38 plus, all the stars 38 plus tonight, that night. So that'll be interesting to see if he treats it like a playoff game, or if somebody on the bench steps up and earns minutes away from those guys and he doesn't have to play them. That's like I talked about last time. Like if Kaminga is as good as the first three games, uh, that'll be huge because that'll take the pressure off of Jalen to play 40 minutes. And if you can get Jalen at 34, 35, again, I think, at closing time, he might have a little bit more because the Magic aren't fully healthy. At the end of the day, they're missing two of their best players. And so, like, I think that might be an edge here because these teams are like both these teams are pretty similar overall. Like, if you look at it player to player, like they're fairly similar. So it's going to come down to shooting variance. But I do think just the fact that the Hawks are the more healthier team might be what pushes them over the edge. But we'll see.
Yeah, I do hope that Kaminga is healthy for that Houston game because that just feels like a Kaminga special. Like the
Yep.
Houston is such a murder ball team, but they're also like not perfectly organized on offense. It's just kind of a mess some of the time. So like it it feels like a game that, maybe isn't going to be the greatest X's and O's game, but it's just going to come down to some athleticism and some determination on the defensive glass. And like those are the things that he really brings well. So it just feels like he could really be an asset in that game in particular, where it might not be as needed or as easily implemented in some of the other games. So
Yep. Yeah,
hopefully he's healthy for that one.
and they have good defensive structure and they play good defensive lineups and you got to make shots, you got to make threes, you got to get points in transition on that team. You have to get points on transition on that team.
All right. Well, I appreciate
I'll
you.
say this last thing is like I am looking forward to watching Landell match up with Mo Wagner because like normally Mo Wagner will like try to injure you and Landell's gonna have none of that. By prediction, Landell will have none of that, and I'm looking forward to watching that part of the game.
The good old Orlando Magic. I forgot about that part. Yes, I imagine he will have none of that. Any last thoughts, Tyler?
Should be a fun game. Uh, Excited for it.
All right. I appreciate you joining me and good night, Bob.
Bye, Bob.
Good night.